Hi everyone, it's Wednesday, time for Wisdom Wednesday. Hope you're doing well. Thought we would continue with some of the supplements that we've been talking about the last several weeks, and I have one that's been around for a long time that I think a lot of folks are taking, but I thought I'd educate you a little bit about this particular one, and that is curcumin. Curcumin's been used for centuries and actually for thousands of years. It's been noted even 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, but has come up through a lot of Ayurvedic type treatments and has been used in India and China, Japan, Korea, the Far East for many, many years as a salve and as just basically a cure for anything. And so I thought I'd talk a little bit about it because it's sort of come up in the forefront from an anti-aging standpoint, and we will talk about the ways that it affects the different hallmarks of aging. But just to kind of give you a little bit brief overview, it has anti-inflammatory properties, antiseptic, and it comes from the root of the Curcuma longa plant. And it's like a tuber in that many plant starches underneath the ground that are carrying different feeding parts of the plant underneath the ground, and that's where this comes from. It's part of the ginger and cardamom family, and so it's been known for so long, and it's processed into a powder. And most of the curcumin or turmeric that's grown is really in India, and they use about 80% of it. But once it's been processed and put into a powder, it then is Indian saffron. But about 2 to 5% of that plant has these curcuminoids in them, and there's multiple ones, but the big global term that we all use is just curcumin. But it's a free radical scavenger, it's an antioxidant, it's an anti-inflammatory, it does quite a bit. And we'll talk a little bit about how it's been used and how it's been studied, and certainly even more studied now. But there's lots of studies, and it's been shown to reduce the risk for cancer. It's been shown to improve cognition and delay brain diseases, particularly neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and it decreases full body inflammation. We know that it can stabilize DNA. It does that through the methylation process, and it can decrease and slow the deterioration of DNA. So it definitely helps from a genomics instability standpoint as well as an epigenetic type of alteration. We know that methylation can occur in different areas around the DNA, and when we're young it shows one pattern, and then that pattern changes as we age, and it can slow that aging pattern. So using curcumin, even if you don't have a lot of symptoms, might be a very good strategy from an anti-aging standpoint. It affects those histones, those sort of on and off switches on the DNA, and that can be very powerful in terms of this anti-aging approach. It also, because it can enter the cells, it's a lipophilic type of molecule, meaning that it likes to go through fat. It's not hydrophilic. It's lipophilic, so it likes fat and can go in and out of cells and in and out of mitochondria, and therefore it can scavenge a lot of the reactive oxygen species that we've talked about, the inflammatory cytokines, and reduces those. It can increase production of antioxidant enzymes, which also will reduce a lot of inflammation and has been shown to be somewhat antimicrobial. So there is a real place for this particular supplement in the world in which we live now regarding different types of infection, viral infections or even bacterial infections. So could be a good strategy there as well. It increases the antioxidative capacity of the cell, and it activates AMP kinase. Now, we've talked about AMP kinase or AMPK in the past when we've talked about diabetes. So there is some value in what it can do to help make patients who are pre-diabetic or diabetic be more sensitive to insulin. It can work similarly to what metformin can do. But we have so many other drugs, but it's still a good strategy to consider if you are starting to see that hemoglobin A1C go up, or if you're starting to see your fasting insulin go up. It might help make you a little more sensitive, and it's an easy supplement to take. There's also a lot about the immune action that it does. There's these cytokines, the tissue necrosis factor, alpha, and the natural killer factor, kappa B, NF-kappa B. These are blocked by curcumin, and these are often the types of enzymes that get started that propagate that cytokine storm that we've learned about over the last 2 years. So curcumin can actually have impact in curtailing that as well, which is fabulous. I think lastly, we want to talk a little bit about the fact that they've done actual studies with comparing curcumin, particularly in rheumatoid arthritis patients and osteoarthritis patients, and they've shown that it can be as beneficial as diclofenac, which is basically Voltaren, in doses up to 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams, and it's very safe. We found that the importance of this through using it as an anti-inflammatory can be quite valuable, and you don't have the side effects, so you don't get the GI upset, and that can be a very good bonus when it's done in studies and the patients then report fewer and fewer side effects. So I think that that's a great thing. Now, when you take curcumin, it's very poorly absorbed, and so usually it's combined with a byproduct from black pepper called piperine or BioPerine, and that can absolutely increase the absorption, but the half-life is very short at basically 2 to 3 hours. We use a product that is a different type of iteration called Curcuplex 95, and this increases the absorption 6 to 7 times, but makes it much more bioavailable and lasts a little bit longer as far as half-life, up to 5 to 8 hours. So you could take it either once a day or twice a day, and rather than 3 or 4 times a day. So I think that curcumin has overwhelmingly great benefit when you're looking at it from not only having issues perhaps with osteoarthritis, which is quite prominent as we age, but just a strategy for helping us be more insulin sensitive. And we know that that has great impact on our aging and what happens to the proteins in our body, keeping sugar from being attached there. Doesn't give us license to eat more sugar. It just helps us be more sensitive to insulin, reduces the inflammatory component, which then affects DNA, which also is part of aging, and it helps mitochondrial action and increases ATP, which is the molecule of energy, and they can increase it up to 70-80% in people as they get older and older. So I think this is really a wonderful product. We have one here, but you can certainly get them anywhere. Just make sure that you get a product that has either BioPerine or this Curcuplex 95, the BCM 95 version of curcumin. That's all I have today. I hope you guys have a great week, and we will talk again next week.